Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're super excited to have you joining us on a beautiful morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy the weather's warming up. You know, like Xavier would say, he's like, I feel the energy. I'm more energetic.
He's like a, you know how insects get more energy from the sun. I feel like Xavier kind of does the same thing. Like,
I think he gets excited because now he's starting to already plant his like little seeds, and they're becoming like little like plants.
Yeah,
like,
they're
like
moving
this
from
big.
the basement maybe out into the
not yet. No, they're still growing, but they're like this big. They're just popping up, so he gets excited and energetic about that. Like he won't get up early for work, but when it comes to watering the plants, he'll be up at like 6:30 to go water his plants.
We always give him such a rough time when he's not here.
That's he's not here. Yeah,
that's what we're for. That's what we're here for. Yeah. That's why
then he'll ask, "What'd you guys say about me?" We say only nice stuff.
Exactly. But we have only nice things to say about some fantastic guests that we have lined up for today. We're going to be joined shortly in the show by Bridgid Eversole, the CCO, and Justin Mutter, CHO of Alula, followed by two of our favorite people to come on as well, Leanne, Clement, General Director, and Caroline Worra, Artistic Director from Charlottesville Opera, talking about something you can go see next weekend. So we're not talking months away, we're talking next weekend. And then last but certainly not least, Matthias from Matthias Realty is going to be joining us for our monthly meetup. So we got a huge, fantastic lineup in store for everyone today, and so we're really excited to just be here, to have everyone tuning in. Excited, of course, to be on the I Love CVille Network with our fantastic presenter, Emergent Financial Services, and our amazing partners, Charlottesville Opera, Matthias Realty, Forward, Adelante, and, of course, all of you that watch our amazing community and partners. So we appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Be sure to send us any questions, comments, likes, shares, whatever amazing stuff you want us to say about our guests. We read only the good comments because there only ever are good comments. So that's what we love.
Who could have a bad comment about today?
No, you and me. Exactly. And plus, all our fantastic guests, there's only amazing things to say about the work that they do in our community to just bring, whether it's health or music, or a home,
or wisdom,
it's all there. So I don't know about you, but I'm excited to jump right in.
We got 3 guests. We got to jump right in.
We got 3 segments. We always got to jump right in. Quick shout out though. Already got some people tuning in. Urpí, of course, is watching. Monica Miller from Montana is tuning in this morning.
Monica always watches when Matthias.
Monica's a big fan of Matthias, so she's tuning in this morning to see you joining us. So without further ado, we are happy to welcome to the show this morning Bridgid Eversole, the CCO, and Justin Mutter, CHO of Alula. Bridgid, Justin, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having us.
No, it's a joy to have you on. So, Bridgid, you've been on, of course, in connection with the wonderful Charlottesville Opera. But maybe for this time, maybe since you're both also co-founders of Alula, maybe we can start, just tell us maybe a little bit your stories of how you came to first be involved with Alula and how it kind of came into being.
Right. So about 5-6 years ago, we had my parents relocate to Charlottesville, and we ended up being caregivers for them. My dad has Parkinson's, my mom has cognitive impairment, and we had a lot of curveballs thrown to us throughout the years, and my parents had done everything, quote unquote, the right way, and we were still we felt like we were just treading water all the time, trying to figure out how to adjust and adapt as things happened. And so my husband, who was, he has a background in strategic planning and also the tech world, he's a fixer. And he said, well, how can we make this better for people? And so he said, I think there's a way we could use tech, not for tech's sake, but just to help people to streamline caregiving, to streamline the whole process. And me being a musician and an educator said, well, we have to remember it's all about the people and having the empathetic, compassionate side as our focus. So fast forward a few years, we went to a program at the center that Justin was giving on dementia and Alzheimer's, and I sobbed my way through the whole program. And so at the end, we said, okay, we need to get him on board with this company. And so that's how we met Justin. And if you
and it's, caregiving is almost a ubiquitous, uniform challenge for many adults, many families all throughout this country, and certainly in Central Virginia. And I work as a geriatrician in town, and I have worked very closely with many families in my career who are going through this challenge. And I've also experienced it personally with my family. And caregiving is just one of those things that, unfortunately, there's no perfect roadmap. There's no precise way that we can do things every single time that is going to put us right where we want to be. And so we all need help. And that's why we founded Alula, to really bring people together onto this platform to figure out, how can we help one another better? How can we serve our loved ones better? How can we create communities and sustain communities of support as we walk through this journey together and trying to help our loved ones?
Absolutely, which of course leads us to our big question. So what is Alula?
So Alula is a platform, and what's really interesting is it's evolved so much. The more we've talked to people, interviewed people, caregivers, professional and family caregivers, friends, we've adjusted as we've gone through the process. So it's a platform where you can have everything in one place. So I'm one of 5 children. We're all over the world, and rather than having to call each person every time something happens, and for big things, obviously I would, but it's just a place where we can have all of my parents' documents in one place. We can have, all of the updates of doctor's appointments or medicine, have their medicine in one place. And just seeing, like the other day, my husband took my daughter and my mother out for nails. So there's a picture of him taking them out for their nail day. And so it's a place where we have the social aspect. We also have a calendar, the document storage, like I said. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop just to streamline everything, to keep it as simplified as we can. Because caregiving is not easy. It's sometimes really frustrating, but it's also can be the most rewarding thing that we can do. And so this is just, again, trying to help simplify and take off some of the pressure for the caregivers.
Yeah. I like to say it was built by caregivers for caregivers, and also for care recipients, those who are receiving the care. And, as Bridgid was saying, you can go and do so much on the platform in one space, and it's not just there for communication. It's kind of like a social network for the care team, but it's also there to coordinate that care, make it easier, make it simpler, so that everybody gets the care that they need and deserve.
And so does Alula work as like a app, or is it like an online platform where you kind of like log in and it has like multiple users? How does it work in that?
Well, so we are just releasing it right now. So right now it's just on your computer or phone, but the app is coming, so stay tuned. But there's also a big educational component to it as well. For me, I know when I was looking at, I was trying to educate myself so much on Parkinson's, dementia, everything. And there's so much noise out there. And so part of what our goal is too, is to have a place where people can come and have very clear ideas of what's going on. My father has hypostatic orthotension. Is that what it's called?
Orthostatic hypotension.
Orthostatic hypotension, sorry.
That's
why I have him there.
That's why Justin's here.
That's why he's on our team. No. So, we'll have a place where you can there it is, something about that. Or my loved one has been falling. What is a good fall device? There's, again, so much noise out there, and we want to make it as efficient as we can, because we want in this time to be able to spend quality time with our loved ones.
Exactly.
At any given point in this country, nearly a third of adults are spending 20 hours or more caring for an aging parent. That's a huge number, right? And so this is something that if we're not experiencing it right now, we're going to experience it soon. And so we really want to be able to bring that product so that people can have the best experience possible caregiving for those who they love.
Absolutely. So it sounds it's a combination where obviously you can have your tight-knit group that has access to the documents and so forth, but you're able to also connect to other people going through the same caregiving task and get their advice on what they've seen that works, or maybe some curated information that goes out as like, okay, yeah, here's an article about different tools you might use that have helped other people in this situation.
Yeah, and in the spirit of being able to help people get to important information efficiently, we're working on building in AI into the system so that, say there's a support group that's using the platform as they talk with one another about their experiences and how best to care for those that they're caring for, and they're struggling with one particular issue, many of them, and the AI can pull that out and say, oh, you're really struggling with how to prevent falls. Here's 3 resources from the Alula platform that can help you solve that problem. And so we want it to be quick, we want it to be fast, and we want it to be super informative for everyone.
Fantastic. What would you say, I mean, in your experience, what are some things in particular that you've noticed people struggling with, caregiving teams struggling with, that either, I mean, it may be things that you think Alula specifically can help with, or things that you have seen that as people use the app or they go onto the platform, they'll be able to get in touch with information to help them with that? And what are some of the challenges you guys are particularly seeing out there?
I think certainly there are many challenges, but early on, one of our big areas of focus is understanding dementia, understanding the journey that one has with dementia, not only the person suffering from dementia, but also the family who is struggling to figure out how best do I care for this person. And the challenging thing about dementia for many people is that the ways in which we engage with one another in a normal way tend to be unhelpful or inefficacious for caring for our loved one. And so thinking about what we call dementia-related behaviors, someone who's forgetting a lot, someone who may get frustrated or agitated at things that they used to not get frustrated or agitated about, how do we then respond in ways that are loving and effective and really help that person thrive in their environment? So that's one of our key areas is really helping people care for people living with dementia.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things to remember is that nobody's journey is the same. So there's, I have a Parkinson's choir, for example, and I have, 20 people with Parkinson's who come off and on, and nobody's Parkinson's presents the same way. And it's the same thing with dementia. Everybody's journey is slightly different. And so that's what I think where the compassion and just understanding and just having somebody there who's been through it and who understands it is really important. And that connection.
And that's the beauty of bringing people together in a platform is we learn from one another, right? Even though each of our journeys may be a little different, each of our challenges may be a little different from one another, we're right there and we're ready to share best practices and experiences with one another.
Exactly. Well, sometimes it's just a matter too of knowing that you're not alone. You can. Some people haven't even heard the statistics, right? But even if you have, sometimes it can just seem like a far off number. Like, 1,000 people you're dealing with this. It's like to then be able to go on and say, oh yeah, I'm dealing with the exact same situation. Don't worry. You'll get through it. You can do this. That kind of, because I think sometimes, of course, the person you're caring for, right? You as the caregiver naturally gonna encourage them and try to help them. But sometimes there isn't the person encouraging the caregiver, like, you've got this.
Right.
You can do this. I'm going through the exact same thing. So the isolation often can just fall on the caregiver because they're pouring it all out to help, and no one's kind of there saying, yeah, okay, I've got you.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, caregiving is a very beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. It's an incredible privilege, but it's also really hard, and it's also can be quite isolating. And so and many caregivers, including our experiences, are going about their day jobs, right? So they're also very, very busy. And so right, being able to bring people together out of that sense of isolation and say, we're all in this together. We're all experiencing many similar things. Let's talk together. Let's figure this out. That's what Alula is all about.
And I think it's like you said, many people may not find themselves in this situation until they are there, right? And one thing that really struck my husband and I, and my dad had many retirements, but in his final retirement, somebody said to him, "So how does it feel to be retired?" And he said, "Well, it's not what I expected." He wasn't planning to have Parkinson's.
Yeah.
None of us are planning to have,
Exactly.
these conditions. And I think that's one of the things when it does happen, we just want to be there to help people.
Exactly, yeah, because it's never something that it always means it hasn't done according to plan,
Right.
Right, because you'll never plan that part
Exactly.
out, right? So it's always, but I think it's great also too in the sense of encouraging people to maybe step into that role. I remember watching the Blue Zones guy and about helping people with longevity, and so many of his examples were having the elderly in community with either they were living in the house with numerous extended family or some kind of close-knit thing, as opposed to being isolated. Like, okay, there's no one close to them caring for them. And I remember thinking, okay, that's well and good. Okay, I see how that contributes to their longevity, but the people around them need help to do that, right? Because the part of the reason that someone may end up alone in a nursing home is that the people around them don't know how to be caregivers, right? Or are unable to do so. So, Mike, if we want that kind of longevity, we need people to have access to resources like this that help them to say, okay, I actually can take you into my home or be in close-knit community as a caregiver for you because I have tools that enable me to do that. I mean, are you seeing any kind of movement towards people saying, I actually want to take this on a little more because, I recognize it can contribute to a better quality of life and longevity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think care works best when it is personalized care, when it is focused on the individual and all that they are and their uniqueness, right? And so the platform, as we build it out, we want that the platform to be able to open people up to what's going on in the community that they might be interested in, so that they can find transportation and get out to that event or whatever. Say you're someone that loves the opera, or say you're someone that loves baseball, right? Then the platform can say, did you know that in 2 weekends' time there's this opera event? Or say, there's this great baseball game in town that you can go to, and can even show you, oh, well, here's 3 ways you can get transport to that event. So we want to build that capacity out over time within the platform as well, so that, again, care can be personalized to exactly what someone is looking for, and so that they can keep thriving.
And with our world now, everybody is, families are spreading out. We don't have that nucleus very often. And so this is a way to even, 11% of family caregivers live over an hour away from the person that they are, caring for. And this is a way, again, just to have them be a part of it and just be connected, which is really important.
Absolutely. Love when we get the interaction with other guys. Matthias asks, what does Alula stand for?
Well, this is really great. We lost my mother-in-law this past summer, and my husband came home. He was able to be with her for the last 3 months, and he came home and he saw this murmuration of birds, and he said, I think that's something that we need, the murmuration. And me being the linguist, the opera singer, said, that's a terrible name, murmur, and so we talked to Justin, who is our wordsmith, and he came up with Alula.
The Alula is an extra appendage on many birds' wings that helps them fly either in formation or alone, but also helps them land. And so for us, it was just a beautiful metaphor for what we are trying to do. We are trying to help one another thrive. We're trying to help one another fly, but also have nice soft landings, right, when we need them. So that's the goal.
That's a beautiful use of wordsmithing. Very well done.
No, and I love the idea behind Alula, because I know our grandmother got placed in a nursing home, and when we would visit, it was difficult because sometimes I worry that nursing homes are important and necessary, but if a lot of the older people, sometimes I see them, it almost felt like they were just there almost waiting to die. And it's a terrible feeling just seeing that, and just because again, it's like they're not seeing anybody that they know, anybody that they love. And I think it'd be really great to have these tools available, because like you said, we live in an information age where everything you can just Google. But let's be honest, you Google something and you get 500 answers, and you're like, which is the one that's for me, which is best? It's always great to have people been like, hey, listen, this is what I did and this is what I worked, because that's what we want. We want someone to say, hey, this worked for me, why don't you give it a shot? Versus it's like you're trying to figure out, is this article right? Is this one make sense? I mean, nobody knows. We've never been in this boat. You can't prepare to care for an older individual. You know, it's not like caring for children, ways that people, this is difficult. So I think this is kind of a great platform for people to kind of share those experiences. And then again, you know, it would be great to kind of avoid putting people in their nursing homes, because, like I said, I've been there and seen the people there, and it can be difficult sometimes. So,
yeah, it's challenging.
You know.
We want to help people truly thrive, and that's wherever their environment may be.
Yeah.
If they are in an assisted living community, or if they're still living in their original home, we want them to be able to thrive in that environment. And so, we want to. How do we use the platform to build those support services around them?
Absolutely. Well, which leads us to quick shout out Brighton Wirt watching the show. He said he remembers, Bridgid, you taught him music theory, so he remembers you fondly. So
I hope fondly.
He appreciates.
You never know.
Yeah. No, I know he does, because I know that class that he was in. So he was he always appreciates that. So he's watching the show this morning. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, last question, which in this case is a kind of a big one. Where can people go to find the platform?
Right. So we are relaunching our website, and hopefully today it is there live, though. And you can go to www.alulaathome.com, and @ is spelled out. It's not the @ symbol.
Okay.
So
Okay.
alulaathome.com.
Athome.com. Perfect. Well, and that'll kind of be your one-stop shop for all the information you need. So we definitely really encourage people to check it out. Thank you both so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You're doing great, important work, so we really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on. All right, so be sure to check that out. alulaathome.com, spelled out completely. Spell it out completely. It's not like email. Spell it out. And so, you got everything that you need.
Shout out to Matthias for that great question about
Alula.
Alula.
You know,
it slipped our minds, and
it really did. It really did slip my mind.
Justin gave us this beautiful story behind it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yep, wonderful.
I would have just thought that it was one of those it sounds nice, so let's see.
Yeah, exactly. But it's actually a great story. That's beautifully done. So be sure to check that out. And from one pair of amazing guests to another pair of amazing guests. I'm actually excited for this because it's been a while since I've been on with Caroline and Leanne. I think last time Nick pinched my spot and stole it. So now
when it comes to opera, Nick will
exactly. So because Nick foolishly booked himself a HVAC appointment this morning, I get to be on with Leanne and Caroline. So we're excited to welcome this morning Leanne Clement, General Director, and Caroline Worra, Artistic Director from Charlottesville Opera. Leanne, Caroline, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Now, it's always a joy to have you both. So, I mean, especially Caroline, I know came from the airport to be here. So
I made it.
We love the dedication.
She's dedicated.
Truly dedicated, so we appreciate it. But maybe we just start off, because, last time I was on the show, so a couple of weeks ago, we had on Karen and Keith Fairs.
Yes.
And we were talking about the duet. I think it was the last of the duet.
It was, that's right.
So just wanted to kind of ask you guys, how did the whole series go? What was kind of your impressions of having done this amazing series?
Well, I will start by saying it was wonderful. It was wonderful to bring so many different artists to town, and Caroline really conceived these concerts so brilliantly, so that they each were very different. You're getting a really different feel for each one of the different four different shows, and Katie and Keith just really rounded it out so nicely with a beautiful performance alongside Jeremy Thompson. He's an incredible collaborator and a gem that we have right here in Charlottesville, a pianist with so much talent, and at this last performance, he really, really had an opportunity to shine Rubinstein with the Dvorak piece, actually 2 of them, and then Keith. The thing that I keep hearing from people who attended was that Keith sang this soliloquy number that was about 2 individuals going through the final stages of life and love and loss. And I mean, people were captivated and really, really moved. The concerts were really intimate, and it was great to really get a chance to get to know some of our patrons even better by seeing them at these events. So it was a great opportunity.
That's awesome.
And I think it was so neat. What Leanne was saying too is really how different all 4 of them were. The previous one on Valentine's Day was all Broadway, and so it's kind of neat that our community is so loving of both opera and Broadway.
Yes.
That for that day it was kind of a staged love feeling of all these greats that people could even sing along with, which is kind of fun as well.
That is a lot of fun. That's wonderful. So yeah, no, it's just I think definitely speaks to, I think one of the things we love is kind of the versatility and the diversity of what you can experience with Charlottesville Opera. It's like it's not just you get 2 operas a year. Right. Goodbye, see you next year. Like there are different ways to experience opera, and one of them is kind of this more intimate setting where you kind of get to know, I think, the 2 performers a little bit more than you would if they were just in the midst of a full production.
Absolutely. And, what I love so much about what we do is that it's all focused on the voice. The voice is the ultimate thing, and I think, Caroline is one of the best singers I've ever heard, and also a great technician. Yes, all of those great things. But, what I feel like she has really brought to Charlottesville Opera is to elevate the quality of the performers that we have coming here. Our company is now known nationally for our young artist training program, and thanks to her and her contacts and just demanding for great singing, which is spectacular.
Yeah, it really is. It's a blessing.
And one of the neat things about our recital series, I always think it's neat when you hear an opera singer up close. It's so great to see an opera and you have the big orchestra and the big hall, but having a bit of a smaller venue and just the feeling, the power that these singers, touch people's souls.
Yes.
And I think that's really special for an audience to see them in both different kinds of settings like that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, which leads us, of course, to the next performance, which is not all the way in June. It's actually here in March, which is Scalia Ginsburg, which it is an opera. It's not a book with a bunch of opinions. It's actually an opera. And so what I kind of wanted to touch on first is maybe you to tell people a little bit of the history of this opera, how it came to be, and how Charlottesville Opera decided to stage a production.
Sure. Well, I'll go first, if that's okay. This production really came out of a very generous gift that was given by Ann Wallace, who has lived in a lot of places around the world and gone to opera in a lot of places, but she has made her home here in her retirement in Charlottesville, and she's been coming to our events. She's joined our board of directors, and she said, I want you all to have a chance to reach a broader audience, to expand. And so out of that came this program called Wallace Works. And so for the next 3 years, Anne has made possible funding for us to bring new works to our season. And we're thrilled for that. Scalia Ginsburg, there's so many great new operas out there, and Caroline is an expert on that. I'll let her touch on it, but Scalia Ginsburg seemed like the perfect fit to kick this off because there are connections for both of them right here in Charlottesville, and ultimately this opera, the theme of it, the composer would say, is we are different, we are one. And it's these 2 individuals who sat on opposite sides of the political spectrum, but they shared this incredible friendship and love of opera. And it's a beautiful testament to what opera and music can do for our communities and for our friendships.
My favorite kind of music, it's funny to say, is new opera. Because I love the feeling, I certainly love getting to be in new operas, but I also love the feeling of being in the theater with a group of audience members that do not know what to expect. I think there's a different kind of energy in the room when everybody is sort of at the edge of their seat, waiting is this going to be funny? Is this going to be sad? Is it going to be, and so first of all, to give this away, it's going to be funny, which that's the other pretty cool thing about opera is that, we don't always get to have a lot of comedies.
No, that's true.
And so that's a really special thing about this opera as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are some of the other things people can expect from it? Because I think it will have both, from what I've read, it will have surprises. I think for people who don't know anything about opera but are like, oh, Scalia Dinsburg, that sounds interesting. But I think it will also have some surprises in store for people who are like, oh yeah, I've seen a bunch of operas. I'm going to go see this one for the first time. So what are some things you both think people can expect?
Well, I mean, I think that what people will be surprised about is that they're actually going to recognize a lot of the music, because the way that Derek Wang, the composer, wrote this was that he took, elements of Mozart and Handel and Puccini. And so within even the first 10 minutes of the show, you hear tunes that you're like, oh, I recognize that. Is that Bugs Bunny? Is that Carmen? Is that, the first Noel? There are all these quotes right within the very first few bars of that. And so I think people are going to actually say, oh, I recognize this music. It's beautiful, it's tuneful, it's melodic, and I think they're also going to be excited to hear some really great singers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're really proud that these three singers are former emerging artists.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
So we thought that was really, it's a great experience for them to, this is a professional role on their resumes. Mm-hmm. And so it's a great experience for them, but it's also so exciting for our community that have gotten to love these singers over the summers, and then to see them come back in these leading roles. So we're very lucky to have all three of them that are with us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I recognized immediately Adam Rogers because he had been in The Music Man.
Yes.
He was the one that constantly was trying to spill the beans on The Music Man. And I know him. It's like, he doesn't know the territory. But so it's funny to see him. So I'll tell you that's one, because I heard him sing at the summer event last year, because he didn't get too much of a chance to sing in The Music Man, but he got to sing at the big summer event where you guys have
Festival.
Yeah,
where
that's right.
All the emerging artists had an opportunity to sing, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, he sang the song "Make Them Hear You."
Yes,
and he just has such a beautiful way of singing in English. I just love the way that he sings in English. He also sang at the church with me the very last day, and I just think he's such a great communicator with people. So it's kind of neat to have him in this role as the kind of the troublemaker or the instigator.
Yes, definitely the troublemaker.
Yes. Absolutely. So you brought together, I know some great artists there, and then obviously I guess Michael Sloan is coming back.
That's right. Michael's our conductor
this time around, and then Claire Choquette, I guess, is the director.
Yes. So Claire, I actually knew Claire when she was a singer, which many directors start out that way. But over the last few years, she has pivoted to become a director. It's really where her passion lies, and she's won several awards nationally. She's been recognized, and she's this really up and coming, enthusiastic energy, but also just really thoughtful about how even a comedy can have great impact, emotionally for the audience. So,
yes.
and one of the benefits was that she assisted directed on this show before, so she knew the show well, and we put together a really great team, a wonderful scenic designer from Arizona, and we have our technical director Zach back from last summer. So we have a set that we're building, costumes. Rachel Herrick is building our costumes for us. Carmen Boisset is doing our wigs and makeup. So it's a full-on show, and
great
it's
team.
very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is exciting.
Yeah.
And Carlos is Carlos is our Scalia, and he's about to also go off to Chautauqua this summer. So he's on his way to other companies as well. So it's great when our singers take their talents out and about.
Yes.
But the other thing that I think is fun is our soprano has done this role before.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so Carly is. It's kind of nice for a singer to get to come back to a role as well, because they can really, once you've lived a character for a while, you can really come back to it again with renewed ideas and things how you'd like to do things.
So how old is the Scalia Ginsburg opera? Is it how is it like 10 years old, 15 years old? How?
So the premiere was 2015.
Oh, okay.
And it was at the Castleton Festival in Virginia.
Oh, goodness.
So that's pretty neat that it was right
neat.
here. But it has been done so many times in so many different companies since then. It's very, very popular. And of course, this day and age right now, it's extremely popular and extremely important to tell the story of two sides getting along so well, you know.
Very great friends.
Exactly.
That's right.
And in the opera world, we all knew so much of Ruth Bader Ginsburg coming to opera performances. You know, people would see her at the Glimmerglass Festival. And so she got to see the production at Castleton, and she got to see that second production at Glimmerglass, which is really neat to think of her sitting out in the audience.
Yeah, and I think it's so funny. I mean, I would encourage people to check out Charlottesville Opera on Facebook. There's a great photo of them both dressed up. I think
For Ariadne.
Ariadne, yeah.
That's right.
That just kind of speaks to, I think, the playfulness that can arise and what opera can bring out of them. It's a beautiful picture, and then the fact that they both, at least I think, read the script.
Absolutely.
And both loved the opera about them.
That's right. They both had given approval to do it. Although Scalia, I think, said, "You don't need my approval. Like, I've written these. You know, this is public record. You can take because the opera contains quotes from their briefs and from their dissents.
Okay.
I mean, and it's not the entire opera is not that, but there are definitely quotes, and it's so smart how Derek Wang put this together. He is both a musician and a graduate from a law school. I mean, he's a lawyer.
Oh my goodness!
So he has both sides of that.
Combination of talents.
And one of the things I'm really excited about that I just want to touch on is that after each show, so the show is about an hour in length, so not long. We'll take a little intermission and then we'll come back and we have a panel discussion planned that includes clerks who worked, a clerk who worked with Scalia and one who worked with Ginsburg. Also, family members. Scalia's daughter, Meg Bryce, is going to join us, and Ginsburg's goddaughter, Catherine Niece, is going to join us. So, because we want people to focus on these individuals and what was it about these two that were so incredibly intelligent and who made such impacts on our country, but who also shared this incredible relationship. And I'm very excited to hear from all of those folks about their personal relationships with the justices.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
that's going to be really neat. It's going to be really neat. And then, I mean, well, we can touch on it briefly. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the last couple of days was the announcement of what else people can look forward to this summer.
Yes, we're super excited, and all of this is happening. It seems like very quickly, although it's time. Our summer season is coming. It's our 48th season.
Wow.
So tickets will go on sale to the public on the 28th, so next Friday, when Scalia Ginsburg opens, and that's for Carmen and the Pirates of Penzance.
Yes. Both classics.
Absolutely. Well, and it's the first time
classics.
we've done the company's done Gilbert and Sullivan, and it's 48-year history.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's going to be both of those are going to be tremendous plays. I think a lot for people to talk about recognizing tunes. I think people will recognize.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's a
Some
big
tunes.
anniversary year for Carmen.
That's right.
What is the year? It's the
150.
150. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Right. Isn't that kind of amazing to
Yeah.
think? Yeah. So that's a neat.
And the cast that Caroline has put together, for our principals, of course, we have our emerging artists who will be a part of that, and a local chorus, children's chorus in Carmen. But we have some really incredible singers coming in for that, including two of our duets performers in Pirates.
Actually, yes, and then three.
Oh, that's right.
Peter, yeah.
Peter,
So,
that's right.
so that's been a lot of fun too. That these people that came to some of these recitals, these duets recitals, they have gotten to know people that they're gonna then recognize this
That's
summer.
gonna be
So
really cool,
that's a lot of fun.
And also maybe for people who saw them first
The
in
audience.
duet to be like, oh, I recognize them. I went to go see that duet.
Exactly.
Oh, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. So yeah, be sure to check that out. And in the meantime, though, please do not miss Scalia Ginsburg. So that's going to be the 28th and the 29th. So next
Friday and
Saturday.
That's right.
7 p.m. on Friday night, 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. Tickets are same place. You go to charlottesvilleopera.org.
That's right.
You go to events, and you don't even have to like search the season. If you go to events, it says Stalia Dinsburg, and you can click it, and then go buy tickets right there. So I would, and that's going to be at St. Anne's Belfield Hall.
That's right, in Grisham Hall, which is a beautiful theater. I mean, such a gift to our community, and easily accessible. But again, a great acoustical space for our productions, and for this smaller production that has it has a 7-piece orchestra. I think it's really going to fit nicely in there. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's so nice to see the different sizes of works when you think about it, because when you think about our productions at the Paramount during the summer, those are huge productions, big, and I love seeing big shows. But it's very special to see something that's as intimate as this in such a beautiful, intimate space.
Exactly. You guys, you're geniuses. I feel like you're transitioning now. So you start with two
duets,
and then we'll have a 7-piece, and then we'll have the mid one. So you're moving. And Nick reminds us that his wife booked the HVAC appointment because he would never have missed the dynamic duo. So he, as far as he's concerned, you guys the dynamic duo.
I guess he's forgiven
for that. Well, this has been absolutely a pleasure. Would definitely encourage people. I was going to ask where do people get tickets, but I just told them. Yeah. So be sure to go to charlottesvilleopera.org. Any other places where people should go to get upcoming information or follow you guys?
Definitely on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, and I will just put in one last plug.
Go for it.
That our festival that you talked about earlier, our event we do at Ting Pavilion with the orchestra and ballet, that's going to be on June 1st this year. So it's early in our season. So put that on your radar that we'll be at Ting Pavilion. We'll kick off our season there with festival June 1st.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, that was so much fun last year. So I really encourage people to go. That was an absolute blast. I mean, it was the hottest, most humid possible day.
I was going to ask, is that why I got moved?
That's part of why I got moved. The orchestra and the choir, those, they're up there in their tuxes and they're melting.
It's a testament to how good it was that no one, we all sat through it. I don't care how humid it was.
So we're hoping this gets us a little bit, a little bit cooler weather.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic event. So be sure to keep on the update for everything Charlottesville Opera, and again, tickets charlottesvilleopera.org. Actually, just go / Stalia Dinsburg, and you'll go straight to it. So,
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
Thank you both for coming on.
I love having you both on. Until next time.
That's right. See you next time.
All righty.
Soon. The summer season.
I know. It's going to be here before you know it.
I know. Well, already. Festival's on June 1st. I think the musical and opera are usually around late June, early July, right?
Absolutely. Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah. This year, I can look it up for people just if you want to circle your calendars. Tarmar's going to be June 20th to 22nd.
Okay.
And Pirates of Penzance is going to be July 11th to the 13th.
There you go.
So if you're really far in advance, you want to be circling those dates.
Sometimes you have to because you got to keep them on the calendar.
Because you can't
miss them.
Well, I mean, do you imagine if you booked a vacation on when they're doing Carmen and you're like, no, I missed that. No,
you cancel your vacation.
You cancel your vacation and you don't see Carmen. Exactly. So be sure to check that out. Love having them both on. Thanks, Bill McChesney, tuning in this morning. Thanks for watching. Always love all our fantastic viewers for coming on. And as I always say, we put him on last, but he's most certainly not least.
He's going to sing Carmen for us.
We are thrilled to welcome to the show our monthly meetup with Matthias Yohn. Matthias, how you doing?
Thanks for having me. I got a little bit of a scare when Michael asked me to sing a song. That will not happen.
I can't blame you. He tries to pull that stunt with a Xavier.
Well, Matthias once put me on the spot when he asked me my New Year's resolution, and I still can't forget. So one day I just got to get back one time.
Absolutely. So Matthias, I mean, I think I wasn't on last time with you. So how's getting into the spring? How have things been?
I think great. I mean, people have mixed feelings about what's going on a national level or on the global stage. But just looking at our market, our micro situation here in Charlottesville area, I think there are a few things that we need to talk about, that we can talk about, that are changing, that are to the better. But I think to answer your question about the spring, and I remember us sitting here last year, and spring always comes with this feeling of something new, something fresh, and there's euphoria in the air, there's excitement, and I certainly feel it when I walked here this morning to the studio. It's finally a week of warm, mild weather, not too much rain, except today in the afternoon, you know, and that entire field describes quite well the change in the season.
Yeah, it's just you, and I think you get to like we've had on the show today. You begin to hear all the announcements of what is coming your way. You know, it's like okay,
but life is coming back into the
yes,
world.
exactly.
Right? It's like
you
the
know,
winter's dead and cold, and you don't want to do anything now.
Exactly, and,
Colors pop up.
Go ahead.
That's right.
It does. It really does.
And you know, in my world, in the world of real estate, spring stands for more buyers looking for homes. You know, the spring market, historically speaking, is the strongest season of the year. Spring and fall, typically, right? But after the holidays and the cold winter months, you know, people typically don't tend to look for houses that much, or sellers, or don't put their houses on the market. And in spring, everything changes. Yes. So a lot of people are getting ready right now, either because they're moving here, starting a job, or because their situation changes and they're putting their house on the market. So when you ask about spring, that's what we in real estate think about, right? And I have a lot of interesting conversations with clients. And in this context, I'm trying to finish a blog post for the month of April, and the topic this time is how local businesses and real estate intersect, right? Obviously, in general, we all know how they intersect, but what does it mean for our micro market here in Charlottesville? And when I first thought about it, my conclusion was, well, UVA, biggest employer in Charlottesville, people move here because they start a job at UVA. But then I was like, no, that's too broad, that's very general. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's actually a really interesting topic, and maybe the best topic so far for this show for me to bring up here, because you deal with local small businesses once a week when you sit here. And as I was thinking more about it, I realized, man, there's so many examples. And I bet you can think of examples too. But I thought, let's dissect this a little bit, because I find it more and more interesting. And I'm sure there are many people that have written books about it. I've never thought about it that detailed. And I brought a few angles. And if you want, we can look at those together. Right? For example, let me ask you this, Michael. When you think about local businesses that really shape or contribute to the identity of Charlottesville, what comes to your mind?
Specific ones or kind of like general examples? Because now I'm being put on the spot again.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point.
I mean, I think there's a lot of, we've had a lot of people on the show too that kind of do like little bakeries from home. And I think that's kind of often like great, because again, because when people kind of do it from their house, it doesn't really affect the community, where you feel as though suddenly you have community houses, then I know where you have sort of like a retail building. Yeah. Yes, business, but at the same time, you get at least enough of a feel where it's like, oh, like like there's Sarah, she does her little kind of mini bakery, or someone has like a little coffee shop or flower shop. I think those I've seen definitely pop up, especially post COVID, because people kind of were like, well, what do I want to do?
What do I enjoy?
Exactly. So
yeah, I think a lot. Maybe because I'm a foodie, restaurants very frequently come to mind. I think what's special about Charlottesville, I think here, is that you did the diversity of restaurants food that you can experience. It's something that you would typically associate with a city bigger than ours, and yet you can experience. If I want Turkish food, I can go to Otto's, right? If I want Afghan, I can do sultan kebab. If I want Chinese, there's several places I can go, right? If I want Japanese, there's now in Zen. So there's so many places. If I want Cuban, there's Mojitos. There's a lot of places where you can go to kind of fill that craving, and they're all they've come here maybe for different reasons, right? Some related to UVA, some not. But now they've branched into creating their own spaces, and they made Charlottesville that way, and then connect, even more like from a real estate perspective. They also, depending where you are in the area, there's something nearby that kind of creates the atmosphere of where you live.
Yeah, I think restaurants or food in general is certainly one of the big aspects that contribute to the identity of a city, of Charlottesville. And I think and you said it kind of, what's special about Charlottesville here is the wide range, right? We have fine dining options like Marigold in Keswick Hall or C&O here downtown, but then we also have people from Venezuela opening up an arepas restaurant.
Yes.
Or we have, you just said it yourself, Turkish street food. So we have this wide range, and maybe that's something really special about Charlottesville. But yeah, and I think it's interesting. It's not just food. It's so many other things that shape the identity and have an impact on my job, on real estate, and why people move here. And we spoke about the job factor, right? Big economic drivers. We always think about UVA being the biggest one, but what has been in the news a lot last year was Waynesboro and Northrop Grumman opening up a new location up there, and all of a sudden 400 new positions being filled, right? And that has an immediate impact on the local real estate market up there.
Well, the beautiful is the small business follows. Is that so? You get the big one,
right?
Jobs come in, but then those 400 people, some will want to eat, right? Some will want to enjoy music. Some may buy some more flowers, right? When Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, or some will meet each other and get married, and they'll need all those services. So you get the small businesses that kind of follow, that I think kind of make up the atmosphere. Because I would imagine, like when someone's moving here and they're talking to you, right? They're not necessarily, especially if they're moving for a job, they're not going to be like, Matthias, who are the big employers in the area? They're like, all right, I'm already moving here because Northrop's here. They're probably more likely, Matthias, what's around? Like, all right, if I move to this area, what can I do? What can I see? What can I listen to? What can I enjoy? And those are much more likely to be a small business than a Northrop.
Yeah. Or take someone who's not moving here but already lives here. Let's take someone in the neighborhood, let's say 10th Street of Preston, right? We all remember just a few years ago what happened to the dairy market there. Yeah. I think we all still remember it once was an Irish pub and restaurant, McGrady's.
Oh, yes, McGrady's.
Right, and now imagine you living there with your family, and then what happened with the dairy market expansion and renovation, and then opening up of the food court. And I think that is a good example of what happened on a micro level to this neighborhood, because obviously it means that the neighborhood has changed, right? And there will always be people that have something negative or positive to say about it, but just objectively speaking, property values have changed, right, in that immediate neighborhood. And sure, a lot of neighborhoods are undergoing changes like that, but it's interesting to look at that, and you're right. Is it the store first, or is it the people moving there first and then them opening up a store, right? It's not
kind
always
of the chicken and the egg.
Yeah, kind of. If you think of gentrification in a New York City borough, for example, right? Was it the hipster art store first, or did they move there first to live and then open it up? I don't know, but interesting examples. Let me ask you this: what what is a store in? I mean, you live in Crozet,
I
right?
do.
What comes to your mind when you think of that question?
Probably two. There's probably three. Not to say that I don't think of others, but the three that I think kind of come to mind first. Two that are walkable. Because I'm close enough to the little downtown Crozet area that you can walk. If you need to meet someone, I can meet you at Mud House because I can walk there in 5 minutes in the little corner. And it has the little. And what's neat about the little area is Mud House. You have far downers that I've taken my wife to. I think we did my birthday there or hers.
Yeah, we love going there.
Yes, it's in the little pub atmosphere, right? And there is a certain, and I think because they're so small, right? They do give you that old little downtown feel, which I think did very much in the style of Crozet, right? As opposed to like a larger area, right? I mean, Charlottesville Downtown Mall doesn't quite feel like that because it's so much bigger, right? So you wouldn't expect that kind of really tiny, little cozy area, but it kind of gives you that nice feel of I can just walk there and get something, or I can walk there and get some comfort pub food, right? And I think, and yet for people who want to drive, I can't tell you how many people will be like, can you meet me at Pro Renata? And it's like, yeah, okay, because it's like, no matter where you are in Crozet, you can drive there in like 5-6 minutes, right? And it's so big between the inside and the outside. So, yeah, well, I'll never have to worry like, oh no, there's nowhere for me to sit, right? So I think those are kind of things that come to mind for different reasons, right? Somewhere you're like, oh, let me just walk downtown. There's also there's the little, it's a little house. It's called the Art Box, I think.
Yeah.
That you can go get something framed, a little custom, so you can walk around and see little things and enjoy. Or there's, okay, I need to meet someone. I need to make sure that when I meet my friends, there's enough space for all 10 of us. I think I know where we'll head.
Yeah, isn't Crozet a great example for this topic? And the conversation has definitely changed. Let's say 8 years ago, a family considering moving to Crozet, they would have had the conversation, well, what kind of restaurants do we have here? And I think 8 years ago, the answer would have been, well, we have 3, maybe 4 restaurants. And compared to now, just last week was announced a new restaurant is opening there, like a crepe store is opening up downtown Crozet. You yourself brought up examples. So you have this wide range of restaurants opening up or being available in Crozet. And I think that can be a determining factor, whether it's restaurant or a picture frame store, of people just asking themselves the question, do we find everything we need here in Crozet? Is it worth living there, or do we value walkability? And you clearly do, because you pointed it out immediately. Or do we drive to the next city for that? And so the prime example of how real estate and local businesses here intersect. Take Lake Monticello. It was once just this gated community, right? But over the course of decades, physicians have opened up their doctors' offices there, restaurants. The entire infrastructure was developed, and so now residents there drive less to Charlottesville because they have all the amenities all of a sudden there. What does that mean for the local market there? Obviously, it expands. More subdivisions are being pulled up because all of the things we just discussed are so attractive that more houses are being built and the area grows. And it's interesting for me because I take those developments for granted because it just makes sense, right? More people move somewhere. The doctor is just the next logical step. The restaurant is just the next logical step. But the dynamic and the intersection is what I rarely think about. And so that's really a good topic. And I think the conversation makes more fun about Charlottesville because we have so much going on.
We really are lucky.
Just look at the preservation of the cultural heritage. Look at Mickey Tavern,
Yes, I
Right.
mean, I took when people visit one of the
Monticello.
first places you take them, right? You move to a new place, and family
Yeah.
says, "Oh, I want to come visit you, see your new house." You're like, "Well, we're going to have lunch at Mickey Tavern. I might take you to Monticello." You know,
Right.
you're immediately going to go for the cultural heritage.
So indirectly, it is we live where Monticello is, right? And I think we all know people in other parts of the country that have heard of Monticello and say, "Ah, you live where
Where that
Thomas
is."
Jefferson has his site." Yeah, it's interesting. You know the magazine Southern Living?
Yes.
Probably heard of it. They have identified Keswick as this year's location for their Southern Living house that they are building. So they do this
So
every year.
They
and
build a new house.
yes,
in a place. Oh.
in the Keswick estate community.
Wow.
And so that's another business that's contributing in a way. And in this example, it's architecture and a little bit of Southern culture
Yep.
and all that. But that will get a lot of attention nationwide again.
Well, I remember the attention when we were this was right when we moved here in 2008, and the next year, it was #1 place to retire on some magazine, and it was
There you go.
all of a sudden everywhere. It's Charlottesville's the #1 place to retire. my father was a little panicking just about part of the reason we didn't move back to New York is he didn't want a lot of people. He's like, "Oh no, these people are going to come, but this is the best place to retire." So he was like, "No, don't come."
Yeah.
But it's interesting the price of one of that's kind of that chicken and the egg, right? The more wonderful where you live becomes, right? The more recognized it becomes, the more people will want to come and live there.
Well, we're not talking about the price today. That's for next time.
Yeah.
No, sure. Was it last? Yeah, it was last summer that you just brought up magazine that Charlottesville or the area here was featured in the wine magazines because of the Monticello wine trail.
Yes.
So I don't know if we will ever be able to capture the numbers, but I would be curious to find out how many people, maybe retirees, are moving here because of that designation. So what kind of impact did that have? And well, we can think of more and more factors that come to mind, and that's what I meant. Just having this conversation with you again confirms it's so much. It's a bigger topic than I thought it is.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you, Matthias. So when people kind of come here looking for houses, my interpretation, because this would be my preferences, I would always prefer kind of a little more like Alex. I'd like to be in a place where it's okay, yeah, there's more of a walkability, that there's a town nearby that even if I have to drive 5 minutes to, it's relatively close by, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because we have so many now in this area, wineries or distilleries and stuff like that are people willing to basically say, yes, I'm fine with living in the country or a little more pushed out, and I'm a little farther away from all the restaurants that Charlottesville has to offer because there are accessible wineries nearby or accessible distillery or brewery that will function as sort of my version of I want to go out to eat, we'll go to this winery, or we'll kind of go to this brewery. Do you have a feeling like people, this kind of that element?
Of where they accept the fact that they don't have a walkable downtown.
Yes.
But
But they have other amenities.
all the other amenities like the vineyards you
Yes.
brought up, they make up for it. Well, I think that the conversation is different in the US about this than it is in Europe, for example. Charlottesville downtown, the mall that we have, is often called a European downtown, right? Because in European cities you have shops, restaurants,
no cars.
and it's usually no traffic, no cars allowed. And so we have that here, and for decades that has been one of the main attractions of Charlottesville, right? And it certainly was a surprise for me when I moved here 11 years ago. And I think a lot of people value that live downtown, that they can not use their car and just walk everywhere. And sure, that is a big attraction, but how many people get to get to enjoy this. You know, there is an infinite amount of space available, of houses available, and we were just joking about, we're not talking about prices today, but the closer you live to downtown, the less affordable it becomes for the average person. And so you compromise, right? And you said we're going to move into the country. We are within this 20 to 30 minute driving distance window that seems to be acceptable to most people. It is for us. It becomes more affordable, and you can afford maybe a yard or maybe 1 to 2 acres. And so you swap something, you think you compromise, but then you gain other things. And what happened then is more and more amenities were created. And you're right, the area is so rich and full of vineyards, distilleries, breweries. I mean, look at Nelson County, or here, Monticello Wine Trail in Keswick to Gordonsville towards Orange. There's so many there. And I think if you ask people, I think everyone would say, I would like to live downtown, and I would like to be able to walk to 10 restaurants and be able to choose among them. But the reality just is that that's a lifestyle that's not compatible with every family, with everyone's needs, and so I guess we have both worlds here, right? And affordability is still a problem. Just because you live 20 minutes outside of Charlottesville doesn't mean it becomes all of a sudden affordable. I mean, we're still talking about Albemarle County.
It's relative.
It's relative, and it's still, what is it, the second most expensive county in the state of Virginia, right? But to answer your question, well, let's rephrase it. You know, you have options. If downtown living is not for you, either because it's not your preference or because the reality of the prices and inventory is just that it's not feasible to you, then you have other options that are still doable within 30 minutes driving, right? I think you live in Ivy.
Yes.
So in 20 minutes, you can be here and enjoy all those walkable things once you have parked your car. But I think within 5 or 10 minutes, you can also drive to a restaurant or to a vineyard, right, and enjoy those amenities. Would you agree?
I would, yes. I think we're probably a little more on the closer side to the Charlottesville. So some of the vineyards, I was kind of thinking more of like Alex lives in Crozet. When you kind of go past Crozet, when you start getting towards Afton, but along that way, like you said, there's Pro Renata, there's King's Family Vineyards, then you go way out, and there's Hazy Mountain Vineyard, there's that brewery, what's it called, Blue Mountain Brewery, right? Like, so someone could live in Afton. That's probably what would you say, 30 minutes away from where we are at time, maybe 35, right? But so it would be it's a little tricky to be like, okay, let's drive 35 minutes to go have dinner, whereas maybe people more willing, that's like, well, we got these vineyards, we got this brewery, hey, these are our dinner spots. Or you go to Dooners, or like the other restaurant that you mentioned, so.
But, luckily people are catching on to this, and those that open up the vineyards and breweries, they're actually targeting families. They're not specifically targeting the beer drinker or the wine drinker or the cider drinker. No, they are creating experiences and amusement around it, right? Because they realize that's what families are looking for, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful intersection, beautiful interplay. Yeah.
Exactly. No, interesting topic. We could go on about this, but
forever. That's a great topic. I appreciate bringing it up. It's beautiful to think about, and also renews your appreciation, I think, for what this area has to offer.
Yeah, and actually, maybe also a good segue into spring, because that is, frankly, what's on the mind of a lot of people.
Exactly.
As I said earlier, this topic came up because people asked me about it. They asked me what are the cultural offerings, and then sure, I can tell them, go to charlottesville.org, and then you can learn about the opera and all those things. But I realized, well, it's actually a bigger conversation than all those little local businesses that really do shape the identity.
They really do.
But who am I to talk about this? You two interview local
We're lucky
businesses
enough. We're lucky
every
enough we
week.
get to see them firsthand
Yeah.
every week. So we really enjoy it, and we enjoy having our monthly meetup with you. Always great to just kind of pick your brain,
Always great
talk, have
catching
a
up.
great conversation, and we look forward to the
My
next one.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
for coming on,
on.
Matthias.
Well, it's been a great show.
Yes.
Loved every minute of it. And next time up, more great people. Renata Miller from Viva La Noche is going to come
Ooh,
on.
okay.
So we've got some more
Viva
great
La
guys.
Noche sounds.
Sounds nice,
Yeah.
yeah. Nick just sent me that one. So be on the lookout for that
Yes.
as we promote that. Of course, by that time, if you wait for the next show, it'll be too late to go to Stille Dinsburg. So make sure you get your tickets this weekend. Go to charlottesvilleopera.org/Stille Dinsburg or charlottesvilleopera.org. You can go to events and you'll find it listed there. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to check out Alula. Definitely, I know that's another big thing. A lot of people move here as family groups, so be sure to check that out if you need for your needs, if to help you with the caregiving. Be sure to check out Matthias, Matthias Young Realty. You can never not find him. You'll find him on Facebook the same way you find us. So always some great advice that he can give. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thanks for co-hosting with me.
Thank you for leading the show. You're
always a joy.
Always
a joy.
great.
Thanks to everyone. So we look forward to seeing you all next week. Of course, thanks to Judah behind the camera.
Yeah.
I Love CVille Network set. Amazing partner, Charlottesville Opera, Matthias Young Realty. For our presenter, Emergent Financial Services, thank all of you for tuning in, for your questions, comments, and be sure to send us anyone you want to feature on the show. We love having up all those small businesses on. We look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, as we like to close it out, hasta mañana.